Marcus Aurelius once said that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. But what if I told you that the greatest enemy isn't someone plotting against you? It's the fool living inside your own mind. Today, we're diving deep into the ancient wisdom of the Stoics to uncover the 6 unmistakable signs of a stupid person. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We've all been guilty of at least one of these. But before we begin this journey of self-discovery, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because at meets wisdom. We're committed to transforming your life one video at a time. Welcome back to Meets Wisdom, where ancient philosophy meets modern living. I'm your host, and today we're exploring something that might make you squirm a little: the characteristics that the great Stoic philosophers identified as markers of foolishness. But here's why this matters. The Stoics believed that wisdom isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about recognizing our own ignorance and choosing growth over ego. As Epictetus taught us, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. So grab a notebook, because you'll want to take notes. And let me know in the comments which of these signs hit closest to home for you. Sometimes the most uncomfortable truths are the ones we need to hear most. Sign number 1, they refuse to question their own beliefs. The first sign of a stupid person, according to Stoic philosophy, is their stubborn refusal to question their own beliefs. Now, I want you to think about the last time you changed your mind about something important. Can you remember? If it's been a while, this section is especially for you. Picture this. You're in a heated discussion about politics, religion, or even something as simple as the best way to organize your workspace. The stupid person in this scenario isn't necessarily the one with the wrong opinion. It's the one who refuses to even consider that they might be wrong. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Confine yourself to the present." But he also understood that being present means being open to new information, new perspectives, and yes, even admitting when we're wrong. The fool thinks himself to be wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. This ancient wisdom reminds us that true intelligence begins with intellectual humility. Here's how this shows up in daily life. They interrupt others to prove their point instead of listening to understand. They surround themselves only with people who agree with them. They dismiss new information that challenges their worldview. They take disagreement as personal attacks. The Stoic approach is radically different. Seneca advised us every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. This means being willing to let old beliefs die so new wisdom can be born. Think about your own life right now. What's one belief you've held for years without questioning? Drop it in the comments. Let's call it your belief check. I want to see what you're willing to examine. This kind of intellectual courage is what separates the wise from the foolish. If this resonates with you, hit that like button. It tells me you're ready to challenge yourself, and that's exactly the kind of person this channel is built for. Sign number 2, they blame external circumstances for their problems. Sign number 2 will make you uncomfortable, and good, it should. Stupid people have mastered the art of playing the victim. They've convinced themselves that their problems are everyone else's fault, and they've become professional blame shifters. Epictetus, who went from being a slave to becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, had something powerful to say about this. He taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. Let me repeat that. We suffer not from what happens to us, but from our thoughts about what happens to us. I once knew someone who was constantly complaining about their job, their relationships, their finances. Everything was someone else's fault. Their boss was terrible. Their partner didn't appreciate them. The economy was rigged against them. Sound familiar? The stupid person looks at their life and sees nothing but external forces conspiring against them. The wise person looks at the same life and asks, what's my part in this? What can I control? What can I learn? You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending that bad things don't happen. The Stoics acknowledge that life is full of genuine hardships, but they made a crucial distinction between what's up to us and what's not up to us. Here's the revolutionary Stoic concept that changes everything. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. What's within our control? Our choices, our responses, our effort, our character. What's not? Pretty much everything else. Other people's actions, natural disasters, the past, the future. Stupid people spend their energy raging against things they can't control. Wise people focus their energy on the things they can control. Practical signs of this behavior. They constantly use phrases like, if only, or it's not my fault because. They spend more time complaining than problem solving. They feel powerless in most situations. They wait for external circumstances to change before they take action. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? The Stoic asks, how can I use this experience to become stronger, wiser, more resilient? Here's your challenge. For the next week, catch yourself every time you blame external circumstances for your problems. Comment below with the word ownership if you're ready to take full responsibility for your life. Let's see how many of you are ready to stop being victims and start being victors. Sign number 3 is perhaps the most dangerous of all. Stupid people never admit when they're wrong. Their ego is so fragile that they'll twist themselves into pretzels before they'll acknowledge a mistake. Imagine watching someone trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. They're struggling, sweating, getting frustrated, but they refuse to consider that maybe, just maybe, they're approaching this wrong. That's what it looks like when someone can't admit they're wrong. Seneca wrote, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. But you can't have a new beginning if you're desperately clinging to being right about everything. The Stoics understood that admitting error isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. Here's what's really happening. When we're wrong and can't admit it, we're actually showing the world that our ego is more important to us than truth. We're saying, I would rather be wrong and appear right than be corrected and actually become right. Marcus Aurelius, literally the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, regularly wrote about his own mistakes and shortcomings. If the emperor can admit when he's wrong, what's your excuse? The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates embraced by the Stoics. This isn't about self-deprecation or low self-esteem. It's about intellectual honesty. The Stoics called this philosophical humility, the understanding that we're all students in the school of life. They double down on obviously incorrect statements. They change the subject when presented with evidence against their position. They attack the messenger instead of addressing the message. They rewrite history to make themselves look better. They use phrases like, I was right all along, even when they clearly weren't. When you can't admit you're wrong, you stop learning. When you stop learning, you stop growing. When you stop growing, you become stupid. Not because you lack intelligence, but because you've chosen ego over wisdom. Epictetus taught his students to say, I was wrong, and I'm grateful to learn something new. This simple phrase transforms every mistake from a threat to your ego into a gift to your wisdom. Think about the last time you were wrong about something. Did you admit it quickly and learn from it? Or did you dig in your heels and defend your position? The answer to that question reveals whether you're approaching life with wisdom or stupidity. Here's what I want you to do. Think of a time recently when you were wrong about something but didn't admit it. In the comments, share what you learned from that experience. Use the phrase, I was wrong about, and complete the sentence. Let's normalize admitting our mistakes. Let's make intellectual honesty cool again. And if you're finding value in this video, smash that like button. It helps more people discover these life-changing Stoic principles. Sign number 4 is going to hit different because we live in a culture that celebrates emotional reactions. But here's the hard truth. Stupid people are emotional slaves. They react to everything, every comment, every setback, every piece of news, as if their life depends on it. Picture someone scrolling through social media, getting angry at every post that disagrees with their worldview. Or someone who flies into a rage because they're stuck in traffic. Or someone who's devastated for weeks because of a casual comment someone made. This is emotional stupidity in action. The Stoics had a revolutionary understanding of emotions. They didn't believe in suppressing feelings or pretending to be robots. Instead, they taught that we can choose our emotional responses. Epictetus said it best. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Modern neuroscience has proven what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. There's a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap lies our power to choose. Stupid people react instantly without thinking. Wise people pause, reflect, and then respond consciously. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius, how emotional reactivity shows up. They take everything personally. They can't have a calm discussion about controversial topics. They make important decisions when they're angry or upset. They let other people's moods determine their own mood. They hold grudges for years over minor offenses. They can't handle criticism without getting defensive. The Stoic practice of emotional regulation. The Stoics developed specific techniques for managing emotions. 1. The view from above. When you're upset, imagine viewing the situation from space. How important will this be in 100 years? In 10 years? Even in 10 minutes? The discipline of desire. Ask yourself, am I getting upset about something that's actually within my control? If not, let it go. 3. The morning reflection. Start each day by reminding yourself that you'll encounter difficult people and situations. This mental preparation prevents emotional hijacking. I once watched two people respond to the same criticism. Person A immediately got defensive, started arguing, and held a grudge for months. Person B paused, considered whether the criticism had merit, thanked the person for their feedback, and either made changes or politely disagreed. Guess who grew from the experience? When you're emotionally reactive, you're not thinking clearly. You make bad decisions, damage relationships, and miss opportunities for growth. You become a slave to your emotions instead of the master of your responses. Instead of reacting, the Stoic responds. They feel the emotion, acknowledge it, and then choose their response based on wisdom rather than impulse. This doesn't make them cold or unfeeling, it makes them powerful. For the next 24 hours, practice this. When something triggers an emotional reaction, pause and count to 10. Ask yourself, is this reaction serving me? Is it helping me become the person I want to be? Then choose your response consciously. In the comments, share a time when you reacted emotionally to something and later regretted it. What would you do differently now? Use the hashtag #Stoic response. Let's learn from each other's experiences and build a community of people who choose wisdom over reactivity. The Stoics had a revolutionary understanding of emotions. They didn't believe in suppressing feelings or pretending to be robots. Instead, they taught that we can choose our emotional responses. Epictetus said it best, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Modern neuroscience has proven what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. There's a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap lies our power to choose. Stupid people react instantly without thinking. Wise people pause, reflect, and then respond consciously. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius, how emotional reactivity shows up. They take everything personally. They can't have a calm discussion about controversial topics. They make important decisions when they're angry or upset. They let other people's moods determine their own mood. They hold grudges for years over minor offenses. They can't handle criticism without getting defensive. The Stoic practice of emotional regulation. The Stoics developed specific techniques for managing emotions. 1. The view from above. When you're upset, imagine viewing the situation from space. How important will this be in 100 years? In 10 years? Even in 10 minutes? The discipline of desire. Ask yourself, am I getting upset about something that's actually within my control? If not, let it go. 3. The morning reflection. Start each day by reminding yourself that you'll encounter difficult people and situations. This mental preparation prevents emotional hijacking. I once watched two people respond to the same criticism. Person A immediately got defensive, started arguing, and held a grudge for months. Person B paused, considered whether the criticism had merit, thanked the person for their feedback, and either made changes or politely disagreed. Guess who grew from the experience? When you're emotionally reactive, you're not thinking clearly. You make bad decisions, damage relationships, and miss opportunities for growth. You become a slave to your emotions instead of the master of your responses. Instead of reacting, the Stoic responds. They feel the emotion, acknowledge it, and then choose their response based on wisdom rather than impulse. This doesn't make them cold or unfeeling, it makes them powerful. For the next 24 hours, practice this. When something triggers an emotional reaction, pause and count to 10. Ask yourself, is this reaction serving me? Is it helping me become the person I want to be? Then choose your response consciously. In the comments, share a time when you reacted emotionally to something and later regretted it. What would you do differently now? Use the hashtag #Stoic response. Let's learn from each other's experiences and build a community of people who choose wisdom over reactivity. Sign number 5 cuts deep, and it's probably the most tragic of all. Stupid people never invest in their personal growth. They've convinced themselves that they're good enough as they are, and they've stopped evolving. Think about someone you know who's been complaining about the same problems for years, but never does anything to change them. They want a better job, but won't develop new skills. They want better relationships, but won't work on their communication. They want to be happier, but won't examine their thought patterns. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do?" The Stoics believe that we have a moral obligation to become the best version of ourselves. Not for ego or status, but because that's how we contribute to the world. No person was ever honored for what he received. Honor has been the reward for what he gave. Calvin Coolidge, echoing Stoic principles. Signs of growth stagnation. They haven't read a book in years. They avoid challenging conversations or situations. They surround themselves only with people who think like them. They make the same mistakes repeatedly without learning. They resist feedback or constructive criticism. They blame their circumstances instead of developing themselves. They say things like, "I'm too old to change," or "This is just how I am." The Stoic approach to personal development. The Stoics were obsessed with self-improvement, but not in the way we might think. They weren't trying to become rich or famous. They were trying to become wise, virtuous, and useful to society. Seneca spent his evenings reflecting on his day, examining his thoughts and actions. He wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." He understood that growth requires letting go of who you were to become who you're meant to be. The compound effect of growth. Here's what stupid people don't understand. Small, consistent improvements compound over time. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't seem like much, but it's 3,650 pages a year. That's 10 to 15 books. That's a completely different level of knowledge and wisdom. Modern applications. Intellectual growth. Read books. Listen to podcasts. Take courses. Engage with ideas that challenge you. Emotional growth. Practice mindfulness. Work on emotional regulation. Develop empathy. Physical growth. Exercise. Eat well. Take care of your body as the temple of your mind. Social growth. Improve your communication skills. Learn to listen better. Practice compassion. Spiritual growth. Develop a sense of purpose. Practice gratitude. Connect with something larger than yourself. The Stoic daily practice. The Stoics had a specific routine for personal growth. 1. Morning reflection. Set intentions for the day. 2. Evening review. Examine what went well and what could be improved. 3. Continuous learning. Study philosophy, history, and human nature. 4. Virtue practice. Actively work on courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance. I know someone who decided at age 45 that they wanted to become a better leader. They read leadership books, attended seminars, found mentors, and practiced new skills daily. Within 2 years, they were promoted to a senior management position. Growth has no expiration date. When you stop growing, you start dying, not physically, but intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. You become irrelevant, bitter, and resentful. You watch the world pass you by while you remain stuck in place. Here's your challenge. In the comments, share one area where you want to grow in the next 30 days. Make it specific and actionable. Use the hashtag #GROWTHGOAL. Let's create accountability for each other. And if you're committed to personal growth, subscribe to Meets Wisdom and hit that notification bell. This channel is designed to be your weekly dose of growth-focused content. Sign number 6. They seek validation from others instead of internal approval. The final sign of a stupid person is perhaps the most soul-crushing of all. They desperately seek validation from others instead of developing internal approval. They're emotional beggars, constantly asking the world to tell them they're worthy. Picture someone who posts on social media and then obsessively checks how many likes they got. Or someone who can't make a decision without asking 10 people what they think. Or someone who changes their entire personality depending on who they're with. This is validation addiction, and it's a form of intellectual and emotional slavery. Stoic independence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does." The Stoics understood that seeking external validation is a losing game because you're giving others control over your happiness and self-worth. The psychology of validation. Seeking when you need others to validate your worth, you're essentially saying, "I don't trust my own judgment. I need you to tell me if I'm good enough." This is a recipe for perpetual insecurity and people-pleasing. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy, Marcus Aurelius. In this context, the enemy is anyone who would use your need for validation to control or manipulate you. How validation seeking shows up. They constantly ask for opinions on decisions they should make themselves. They change their beliefs based on what's popular or socially acceptable. They can't handle being alone with their thoughts. They measure their success by what others think rather than by their own standards. They're devastated by criticism and overly elated by praise. They sacrifice their authenticity to fit in. They compare themselves constantly to others. The Stoic alternative, internal scorecard. Warren Buffett talks about having an internal scorecard versus an external scorecard. The Stoics pioneered this concept 2,000 years ago. They measured themselves against their own standards of virtue and wisdom, not against society's fickle opinions. Epictetus taught, "Wealth consists in not having great possessions, but in having few wants." This applies to validation too. True freedom comes from needing less approval from others, not from getting more of it. Building internal approval. 1. Define your values. What matters to you, regardless of what others think? 2. Set your standards. What does success look like by your own measure? 3. Practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend. 4. Celebrate private victories. Acknowledge your growth even when no one else notices. 5. Make values-based decisions. Choose what's right over what's popular. The freedom of internal validation. When you stop needing others to validate your worth, you become truly free. You can pursue your goals without worrying about what others think. You can be authentic without fear of judgment. You can take risks without needing permission. I once met someone who turned down a prestigious job offer because it didn't align with their values. Their friends thought they were crazy. Society would have called them successful, but they knew it was wrong for them, and they had the courage to trust their own judgment. That's internal validation in action. The cost of validation addiction. When you're addicted to validation, you become a slave to other people's opinions. You lose yourself in the process of trying to please everyone. You live an inauthentic life because you're more concerned with appearing good than with being good. Here's the ultimate test. Think about a recent decision you made. Did you make it based on what you truly believed was right, or based on what others would think of you? Be honest. In the comments, share one area where you're going to stop seeking validation and start trusting your own judgment. Use the hashtag #internal validation. And if you're ready to break free from the validation trap, hit that subscribe button. At Meets Wisdom, we're building a community of people who choose authenticity over approval. Conclusion: So there you have it, the 6 signs of a stupid person according to Stoic philosophy. But here's the beautiful thing about this ancient wisdom. Recognizing these signs in yourself isn't a reason for shame, it's a reason for hope. Let's quickly review what we've learned. 1. Stupid people refuse to question their own beliefs. 2. They blame external circumstances for their problems. 3. They never admit when they're wrong. 4. They react emotionally to everything. 5. They never invest in their personal growth. 6. They seek validation from others instead of internal approval. The Stoics believe that wisdom is a practice, not a destination. Every day we choose between wisdom and foolishness. Every moment we decide whether to grow or to stay stagnant. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." The difference between a stupid person and a wise person isn't intelligence. It's the willingness to examine yourself honestly and to choose growth over comfort. Remember this Stoic principle: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every one of these signs that you recognize in yourself is actually an opportunity for growth. Every weakness you acknowledge is a strength waiting to be developed. Your journey starts now. I want you to pick one of these 6 signs, the one that resonated most strongly with you, and commit to working on it for the next 30 days. Not because you're stupid, but because you're wise enough to know that growth never stops. In the comments, I want you to share which sign you're going to work on. Let's build a community of people who support each other's growth. Let's normalize the courage it takes to look at ourselves honestly. If this video has added value to your life, if it's made you think, if it's inspired you to grow, then please subscribe to Meets Wisdom. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our weekly deep dives into ancient philosophy and modern living. And don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more people discover these life-changing Stoic principles. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give someone is the mirror of wisdom. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be conscious. The goal is to choose wisdom over foolishness, growth over stagnation, courage over comfort. As Seneca reminded us, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Today can be the end of unconscious living and the beginning of intentional growth. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, keep seeking wisdom, keep growing, and keep becoming the person you're meant to be. This is Meets Wisdom, and I'll see you in the next video.